All here. So Mr. Manzi, when you want to go live, let us know.
All right, we are live.
Thank you. I would like to, it is now 4:27, and I will call to order the January 25th night 2021 meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners. We have a quorum. We have Commissioner Fran Collier-Clemens, Commissioner Stranidi, and Mayor Rilling. Also present, we have Chief Kahowick, Deputy Chief Walsh, and Deputy Chief Zecca. So the first item on the agenda would be the approval of the minutes of December 21st, 2020. Do I have a motion?
I so move approval.
Motion made. Any corrections, deletions, omissions?
I don't have any.
None.
Seeing none, all in favor of the minutes as submitted?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Manzi, do we have anybody waiting to address the commission?
We have 3 participants for public comment. I don't know if anyone would like to speak. If you would, please raise your hand electronically now, and I will unmute you. I don't see anyone raising their hand, Mayor.
Yes, I think John Levin under the name Diane Keefe.
Yep, I
Yep.
do see that. Okay.
Mr. Keefe, or Mr. Levin, I'm sorry, or Ms. Keefe, whoever is on the line, you have the floor. We limit comments to 3 minutes.
Okay, so
We also got your letter, by the way. I think your email.
yeah, those are my questions. I think a lot of people have had a chance to look at recent events reported about the Norwalk Police Department, and we find much of this reporting disturbing, and it raises a lot of questions. And the questions that I presented in the email sent to each of the commissioners, I'm hoping you're able to address them. And if you can address any of them during the public comment of this meeting, I'd be very pleased.
I think the normal protocol, Mr. Levin, is that we respond to your email with an email rather than trying to explain different components of it during the public comment. I will respond to one part where you asked about the size of the police commission. Back several years ago, there was a charter revision item that wanted to increase the size of the commission from 3 to 5 members. It has to go on a charter revision and be put on a ballot. And the item was defeated. It did not pass. So in order to increase the size of the police commission, it would have to be a charter revision commission formed, and a request that would have to be one of the requested items.
Right. So actually, I made that clear in the question that I asked in the email. So my question really was, is there any reason not to increase the size of the police commission from, in this case, 3 to 5 members?
I mean, that would be an answer. That would be a request, or an answer for the voters to make. I mean, I don't see any reason why that could not be considered, and I don't know if there be any valid reason as to why there could not be an increase. I will tell you that this commission is in close contact with the department, virtually. If not every day, certainly weekly, and feel that the police chief and the commission, the police chief and the deputy chiefs have handled this unfortunate and horrible situation in a proper way. Okay.
And of the many other questions I asked, I suppose one of them was really burning, for me at least. What is the status of the union contract? Is it the one that's posted on the city's website expired last June, And I'm wondering, is there a new one, or has the old one been modified, or what is the status
The
of that?
answer to that is the contract has been extended, and even when a contract expires, the old contract remains in full force and effect until a new one is written. So the city website it will have to be updated.
Okay.
So the rest of your questions, Mr. Levin, we will make sure that there's a response to your email. Each commissioner did get it. Your email will be made a part of this meeting.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other people wishing to address the commission?
Yes, Mr. Lozio, you are unmuted.
Mr. Locio, we have 3 minutes to address the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't take 3 minutes. John and I are neighbors and friends and so I just wanted to share that, John and I have discussed the issues that he articulated in his email, and that I share the same concerns that John has expressed, I think, quite cogently. The only couple of additional points that I wanted to raise that are more personal relate to the earnings issue that John highlighted in his email, and that has been reported quite widely. And that is that I would think that NPD, as well as the commission, would want to consider, the facts of these earnings in the context of 2 things. The first being the impact on NPD's culture, and the second being how these earnings might affect the way in which Norwalk citizens perceive the police. And to the first point of the potential impact on NPD culture, there I would simply say that, and I think all of you would agree that being a police officer is a role of public service. That's part of the fabric of being a law officer. And when earnings reach the point, as they have for 17 officers, the 17 out of the 25 highest earners, those earnings are 2.5 to 3 times the average 2019 Connecticut household income of $78,000. Personally, I think there's a risk that, as far as the culture of NPD, that it could lead officers thinking more so in terms of earnings rather than on public service. And maybe I haven't put that in a way that resonates with you, but I would at least ask that you all consider that as a possibility. And as far as public perception, I think the risk of having earnings at this level, for some number of members of NPD, which are roughly, I think, 17 out of, what are there, 170, 180 members of NPD? I'm not quite sure. But I mean, there's the risk that in the minds of the public, NPD might be viewed as a special class. And that could only serve to put additional distance between NPD and the citizens. I think, that all of you would agree that to the extent that members of NPD can strengthen ties and strengthen trust with the community, that's only a good thing. And I'm not sure that having this at these levels, as I said, 2.5 to 3 times of average household income in 2019 in Connecticut, serves that objective of very well of getting closer to the community. Those are my comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Locio. We appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Manzi, is there anybody else to address the commission?
There is not, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So the next item on the agenda, December Officers of the Month, Officer Constantine Arvanitakis, Officer Max Sitsko, Officer Hector Delgado. Chief? You're muted.
Sorry about that. There's 3 officers, but 2 separate recommendations or recognitions. The first is Officer Arvanitakis. This relates to an incident on December 22nd, where he was patrolling and observed a vehicle in a driveway. Something caught his attention, appeared to be something about it that bothered him. He noted that there was no front plate, and as the driver passed by him as it left, he saw the driver on the cell phone. As a result, he conducted a motor vehicle stop, and with the assistance of one of our police dogs, ended up locating over 40 grams of cocaine that was packaged for sale, and 8.5 grams of heroin, which also tested positive for fentanyl. And this was all due to just a gut feeling when he saw this vehicle, and ended up with a nice arrest and removed a lot of narcotics from the streets. So that is, for that incident, we want to recognize him as one of the December officers of the month. And then
I did the same thing. Yeah, and we certainly appreciate Officer Arvanitakis, good police work. Sometimes people would think that a police officer doesn't take action when there's a motor vehicle violation, but here there were 2 violations, caught the officer's attention, and he performed a routine stop that turned out to be anything but routine. And as a result of his diligence in pursuing his duties, he removed some drugs from the street that were packaged for sale, but one with the heroin having fentanyl in it could have resulted in people's death. So we appreciate that. And if the other commissioners want to comment on that.
No, this is just,
Oh, I was just gonna echo what the mayor said, and it's so nice this is actually my favorite part of the meeting, when we go through the officers of the month and also the letters of accommodation that we get. So just wonderful, wonderful police work. Another example of how great our department is. And it's, unfortunate that, as we were before, there are some things that take away from the greatness of our department. And I'm really glad that we take the time to recognize these officers for all that they do on an everyday basis that doesn't always get recognized in the press and everything. So thank you, and congrats to the officers, to all 3 of them that are coming up.
Commissioner Collier-Clemens?
yes, I concur with the former comments. And it's just an example of the police officers who are being trained monthly, taking their training and taking their gut feelings and acting on them, and keeping our community safe. And we cannot recognize them enough or thank them enough for doing their job with integrity, professionalism, and results.
Thank you. Chief, Officer Max Sixto and Officer Hector Delgado.
So for Officer Delgado and Officer Sixto, this result, their outstanding work during the month of December. As you know, we normally host a holiday party at Columbus Magnet School through the community police unit. This year we couldn't do it, obviously because of the COVID restrictions. But despite this, they spearheaded Stuff for Cruiser, collected hundreds of toys, and then distributed them personally around the community. They also spearheaded, if you recall, the anonymous resident that wished to remain anonymous, that purchased the $100 gift cards from Stu Leonard's to be distributed to needy families. Despite a very short time frame, Officer Delgado and Sixto went, purchased the cards, and then made arrangements to personally deliver them again to the needy families, 150 families actually. So they continue to go above and beyond, demonstrating what community policing is and commitment to the community. And for that, we wanted to recognize them also as Officers of the Month for December.
Thank you, Chief. And of course, again, just another example of officers dedicated to giving back to the community. And I know that I've attended that children's party, and it's really wonderful to see the relationship between the officers and the community and being able to give back. And unfortunately, this difficult time, this crazy time in which we find ourselves, has interfered with a lot of different events that the police department's involved in, but they still find a way to get it done. So thank you to Officer Sixto and Officer Delgado. Commissioners?
Yes, I thank them too. You know, to be without food at any time is bad, but during the holidays and for the situation that we are in now, I know that it must have been like a miracle for those families
Did
to
I
receive.
lose?
Hello?
Okay, I got you now. I thought I lost you.
Yeah, it may have seemed like a miracle for those families to receive those gift cards for Stu Leonard's to provide food for their families and something that they could choose themselves. So I thank the police officers in the hard work and getting it done. And I also thank the anonymous donor for having such a great heart.
Commissioner Sterniti?
Yes, I echo the former comments and agree to what a great example this is of how our officers go above and beyond, and how nice to be able to do this at the Christmas time when things were so different this year for so many people. And it's nice to be able to bring a sense of normalcy and just a little added bonus and help people that, you know, needed the help getting something nice for their holiday dinners and everything, and to make that happen and to deliver to 150 different families, to identify and deliver to 150 families is a lot of work. So I'm grateful that we have them, and nice work. Thanks.
Thank you. I would just like to, I guess maybe at this time might be appropriate just to make a comment. You know, it really, we are all shocked by the incident involving the officers who subsequently ended up getting arrested and being charged for what they did. We thought this was certainly a disgraceful act on their behalf, and they're being dealt with in an appropriate way. And I had all confidence in the way the department handled this situation. This situation was not swept under the carpet. It was brought out to the public, and the department did what they had to do. But also, what these officers did in no way, shape, or form reflects upon the Norwalk Police Department. And it's unfortunate because I understand why some people may feel that way. But the men and women of the Norwalk Police Department are dedicated, hardworking professionals who do a job that not many people would do for 3 times the salary that they get. And I just wanted to say that because we have total confidence in the City of Norwalk Police Department. As I said, it's a shame that the other 2 officers took advantage of this, and they will know this is a situation that's being dealt with. But again, and I'm sure the chief will respond to the letter regarding the number of hours that an officer works. There are restrictions in the contract that an officer cannot work any more than 16 hours in any 24-hour period. That's a limit that was put in many, many years ago. And if you look at some of these officers, which I did when I was chief, when I saw officers working in excessive hours, I would check their sick time, I would check their productivity. And I always found that the people that work long, hard hours also had very, very few sick days, but also had impressive productivity in the performance of their duties. So I don't know if either the commissioners wanted to add anything, but I just felt that that was an appropriate place for me to make those comments.
Yeah, I thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with your comments, and I'm glad that you said something. I too wondered what the appropriate time was at the meeting to address it. And I just want to say that it's so unfortunate that people look to jump to judgment and to cast a cloud over the whole department. When, I mean, we do this every month and so many people don't, I think there was only 3 people from the public. If more people from the public participated in our meetings and sat in and listened to what really goes on and all the great work that's done, not just by the officers, all the letters that we get from the community and the officers of the month and everything, but all of the, like Commissioner Collier-Clemens pointed out, all of the training and everything that's done on a regular basis. Out of all of the officers that we have for, something to happen, it's just, it's an unfortunate incident. And again, it just goes to show how our department has dealt with it in such a professional manner, and to not let anything get, left by the wayside or anything like that. So while it's unfortunate that it's happened, it's again, it just makes it even more clear, what a great job we have going on here on all levels of the department. So thank you.
Thank you so much. All that has been said needed to be said. And I can say that our police department could have very easily ignored this for the time in which it happened. But because of the high standards that the Norwalk Police Department has, they addressed it. They investigated it like they would do any other violation by any other citizen, and came up with the results and did what was necessary and are following protocol and procedure as they've been trained to do. We have a very professional police department. We have high ethics and standards, and there are personally and professionally, there are things that just will not be tolerated. And I'm proud to be a commissioner for this department.
Thank you, commissioners. Next item on the agenda, civilian award for Walter Martinez. Chief?
Yeah, we wanted to just publicly recognize a business owner in town. Walter Martinez owns Smart Signs on First Street here in Norwalk. And our community police unit for some time now has reached out to him and his business to provide the sandwich boards for the Coffee with a Cop, for the open houses, for National Night Out, banners that hung on the train trestle for advertising different events, the Stuffer Cruiser banners. And in fact, this year made both of the Stuffer Cruiser banners and donated them. He normally charges a very low rate, basically just his cost, and provides them. But in this case, he actually didn't charge us anything for those banners. So for his ongoing support of the department and the community, it's all events that are raising funds or community outreach. We wanted to recognize him. We'll be sending him a certificate. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we can't present it to him at the meeting, but we just wanted to make that known to the commission. This was at the request of Sergeant Galino, who works closely with him and brought this to our attention. I thought it was well worthy of a civilian award.
Well, thank you, Chief, and certainly a thank you to Mr. Martinez for his working with the police department and his generosity. And Chief, while you were talking, you just mentioned several other events that the officers of the Norwalk Police Department take on and have community outreach. And you did Stuff a Cruiser and National Night Out. And earlier you mentioned the party, the Christmas party or holiday party for the young children in the community. There's so much that the officers do on a year in and year out to get their outreach into the community. So again, I think if members of the public knew of all the different things that the officers did, they would be impressed, because I, as a 41-year member of your team, I am totally impressed with what the officers are doing now on a day in and day out. So thank you. I don't know if the commissioners. Commissioners.
Just grateful to have people like that in the community that recognize the hard work and the importance that our department plays in the community. And I'm very thankful for people like him.
It's good to have a partnership where businesses and the persons residing here do all that they can to help our police department be more effective and connect with the community on a level other than just enforcement. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the agenda. Operations report, patrol staffing, Deputy Chief Walsh.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commission. For December 2020, there was 175 sworn personnel. Officer Brent Crawford is still on a leave of absence. We have 6 patrolman vacancies currently. In the month of December, there was 203 and 3/4 sick days used by sworn personnel and 61.5 workman's comp days. Detective Bureau activity was slow in the month of December. There was only 3 burglaries into motor vehicles, which is tremendously slower than we have seen in previous months. And they had a slow month. Special services activity was also slow, but they've been assisting the Board of Health in several COVID enforcement with 2.1 with the restaurants. They were doing weekly inspections on Thursdays and Friday nights. So they've been lending a hand to Deanna and her team. And they also started compliance operations using underage individuals targeting the local vape shops. And they've been successful in getting undercover purchases to juveniles of the vape shops in the community. And our enforcement will continue with those operations. Special units victim is also a little bit down in December 2020. Domestic violence cases dropped from 2019 December from 42 to December 2020 29, and they have 2 current sexual assault investigations ongoing. As the chief noted, with officers Sixto and Officer Delgado, they were very busy with the toy collection in December. Also with Sergeant Galino, she was also very active in that operation, in passing out the toys to the children and other things. Total criminal arrest for December 2020 was 189, and calls for service in the patrol division was 4,334. In the selective enforcement report, there were 79 tickets given out in December, which has been on a year low. We have made some personnel changes in our traffic enforcement unit, and you will see units, the numbers start to come back up. We have made some changes, and we're already tracking some significant progress in ticket enforcement throughout the city in the month of January 2020. The total amount of tickets given out in 2020 were 1,666, which is down tremendously from 2019, and an average of about 65%, numbers that we have been tracking and are consistent throughout the other states and other jurisdictions. Probably due to COVID and other things, officers were a little shy, but we have seen a spike in traffic enforcement in the month of January.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Walsh. Commissioners, any questions or comments for Deputy Chief Walsh?
Not at the moment. Thank you.
Deputy Chief, I just wanted to thank you for including these top motor vehicle citations for the month. I think I commented on that last month, and you just moved forward with it. Thank you so much. Helpful to me.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to the administrative report. Commissioner, Deputy Chief Zecca.
Oh, mostly our standard review training. We had a emergency medical responder class, which is our EMR certificate for being medical first responders. They need to recertify in that every few years. So there was a class on that. It's over a few different days. Then continued the firearms qualifications. In terms of review credit training, it was mental health, first aid, and motor vehicle stops. There were some who needed to recertify in NCIC, which is the computer check system. And then we had 2 officers recertified for their TASER instruction, as well as certifying some of the officers in their annual TASER recertifications. I anticipate in the next couple of months our training will be able to wrap up the remainder of this review credit cycle. It was a little delayed, obviously, because of COVID, but we are nearing the end of getting those done. We were able to receive an extension based on COVID from Post.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. For next month, if you would, I think it would be interesting to have a public presentation about the content of some of the training that our officers receive in the area of human relations, in the area of racial sensitivity and those kinds of things, so that people can understand not only what our officers receive training in the academy, but also on an ongoing basis to make sure that we're subscribing to the highest standards of law enforcement services. So I think maybe just a brief overview, a 10, 15-minute presentation. Perhaps you can put together a PowerPoint presentation or something that we can look at, and members of the public who wish to see it, either watching it live or on YouTube, would be able to see what the training that the officers go through. Commissioners, do you have any other questions or?
No, but that sounds like a great idea. I look forward to seeing it as I'm looking through and seeing the specific training that there is and everything. So it'd be nice to see a little presentation and to make that available to the public so you see all the hard work here.
And thank you, Commissioner Collier.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. The more information the public gets about what the officers are trained and continually updated in doing, I think it would help them to understand how we prepare our police officers to take care of our citizens.
Thank you. And a lot of people probably don't know this, but our own police chief, not only was he an on-site assessor for the Commission on Accreditation, going around the country evaluating other police departments and making sure that they subscribe to the standards of the Commission on Accreditation for law enforcement agencies. But he has also now been elevated to, because he did such a great job, he was elevated to the position of commissioner for the Commission on Accreditation for law enforcement agencies. And Chief, I think that it would be interesting also if you could give either next month or the month after a presentation on what the accreditation process actually is. The number of standards, the area of the standards, anything that you find interesting or specifically poignant, such as our community outreach and pursuit policy and all the things that that the Norwalk Police Department has subscribed to since 1995, when the department was first accredited, and has maintained accreditation flawlessly, I might add, ever since. So maybe we could have some sort of a presentation of that.
Yes, we'll definitely do that. I would probably suggest maybe doing one next month and one the following month, just for time. But we can definitely do that.
Yep, and whatever you feel would be the most appropriate for next month, and then the other one can do the following month.
Very good.
Thank you. Also, it's been requested that we go off the agenda at this point for an item for the commission to review one of the fees that the department charges. So I need a motion for that.
I so move that we go off the agenda.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chief or Deputy Chief, whoever's going to present this.
Yeah, basically, as because of technology change, we've had requests for items on disk. So we've had to make discs for either for people, for the media, for FOI requests, whatever. There was really no fee structure in place. We tried to get some information, and as a new item, there wasn't much out there. We were charging, based on time and resources, $29 per disc. As time has gone on now, our corporation counsel's office advised us that in looking around, they thought that fee was too high given how things have changed, and asked us to review that, which Deputy Chief Zecca has done. And after reviewing that, we found that agencies have reduced those fees. And generally speaking, they range in the area of $5, $10 per disc. $5 seems to be the current common fee that agencies are charging. So we wanted permission to change our fee structure and reduce that disc fee down to $5 to match in the area what other agencies are charging.
Okay, so you've heard the chief. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we reduce the fee for a disc to $5.
Any further discussion or comment? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Next item on the agenda, personnel matters. Again, looking at the items on the agenda, another thing that perhaps the public doesn't always have information about is the amount of officers who have higher educations. And we have tuition reimbursements for officers on this list. We have a significant number of officers who either have or are pursuing their master's degree in various disciplines. We have many, many more who have bachelor's degrees and associate's degrees. So in addition to being accredited, in addition to going through ongoing training, our police department has a significant number of officers with higher education. So with that, Chief?
Yeah, I don't know if it's okay or not, but I was going to ask that maybe we do this all just in one motion to save time. I'll just go through them, and then if that works for you.
That works for me, commissioners.
It's okay with me.
Okay.
I have a question on one of these, though.
All right, why don't you leave that one off, Chief, and then we'll get the others, and then Commissioner Clemens can ask her question. Which one is it, Commissioner?
Hold on just a minute.
Is it the amount that's wrong?
No, it's not the amount. It's we don't have the actual verification from the school as to what the cost of the tuition was. It's not included in the application for reimbursement, and that's on Castaldi.
All right, so why don't we take the other ones, and then Chief, you can address that issue.
Okay, so this would be then for Deputy Chief Zecca, reimbursement of $1,526.50 regarding core cyber hacking for her master's, towards her master's degree. $2,325.50 reimbursement for Officer James Barron for several classes towards his bachelor's degree. This is the one where the amount that's listed there is not matching, so I've adjusted that. It should be $1,477.88 reimbursement, which is 50% of the $2955.76 for Sergeant Fonseca for for administrative behavior towards his master's degree from UNH, and $1,445 reimbursement for Officer Vasquez for human resource management in the public sector, which is towards his master's degree at Sacred Heart. So those minus the Castaldi, which I'll have to look into because I don't have the information. I didn't notice it, to be honest. That's my error. I usually double check that. So we can either leave that for next month, or if you wanted to approve it, condition
I think
that we get the documentation.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, you froze for a second.
I keep getting a message that I have an unstable internet. So it goes in and out. And my wife just said you're unstable in many other ways. No, she didn't say that. She says she thought it. Anyway, so we have tuition reimbursement for Deputy Chief Zecca, Sergeant Fonseca, Officer Barron, and Officer Vasquez. All the paperwork is in order, Chief?
Yes,
Any
with the
questions?
adjustment,
We need
on
a
the amount.
motion on those?
I made the only comment regarding Casaldi.
Oh, we need a motion for the others.
Make
For
a
Deputy
motion.
Chief Zecca, I'm sorry, Commissioner Straniti?
Yeah, I was gonna make a motion that we approve all of the ones that we listed.
Okay, that would be Deputy Chief Zecca, Office Sergeant Fonseca, Officer Barron, and Officer Vasquez. Any further discussion on those? The chief indicated that all the paperwork is in order. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Chief, now the course approvals for Officer Ryan Evarts and Officer Daniel Vasquez.
How do you want to handle Castaldi? You want me to put that to next month and get that document, or approve it, provided that we get the approval or the payment information from the school?
Yeah, well, from my position, I think that would be fair rather than hold them up, as long as you get the document and you're satisfied with it. Commissioners, do you feel any?
That's acceptable to me. Mhm.
Okay, so Commissioner Collier Clemens, if you could make that motion.
Okay, I move that we approve the tuition reimbursement for Robert Castaldi based upon receiving a verifying copy from the college of his tuition cost.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Okay, now Chief, the course approvals.
Yep, we have two requests. One, the first from Sergeant Evarts, approval for human diversity and social justice. This is a course towards his master's at Sacred Heart. And a request from Officer Vasquez for human diversity and social justice, which is towards his master's from Sacred Heart University. Requesting course approvals for both.
Okay, and you have the paperwork and all it's in order?
It's just a course approval. They're
Right,
requesting
okay.
to take the course.
Can I have
Okay,
a motion on that?
I move a course approval for Ryan Evarts and Daniel Vasquez for courses.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Informational items, sick time attendance, Chief?
Yeah, this is informational item for you. This lists the officers and civilian staff that did not take sick time last year, or if it's more than a year, back to back. All of those named here received letters thanking them on behalf of myself and the commission. And this is just informational so you have the list of those officers. And you'll notice that there's a couple there. Sergeant Young hasn't taken sick time in 6 years.
Wow.
Officer Silva, 6 years. And then if you go down, civilian Lynn Sullivan, 9 years. And dispatcher Neely, 7 years without taking any sick days, which is amazing.
Very impressive. Thank you for bringing that to our attention and for sending them letters on behalf of the commission and yourself. Any comments, Commissioner Collier Clemens or Commissioner Straniti?
I look forward to seeing the sick time attendance to see, who is well and on the job all the time. And I'm especially impressed this time that our newest officers, Taylor, Ecke, and Mitchell, have not been sick any day since they've started. I know it's only 6 months, but
But I have to be honest, most of that time they're in the academy and they really can't miss. So,
Well, we'll still give them a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And again, because of the COVID situation, that's just another
amazing.
reason for us to be really proud and pleased of the officers. We know some officers had been exposed to or had to quarantine because of COVID-19. So again, difficult times. Complimentary letters, Chief?
yep, got a few here for last month. The first is from Rowayton Elementary School, one of the teachers there, for Officer Abruzzini, who's the school resource officer, commenting about his excellent work. And we've gotten numerous letters
know.
about him. He's beloved by the schools that he is a resource officer for. The second was for Officer Sefcik, and also praising the department for hiring someone like him. The individual was commenting on how supportive and helpful he was regarding a traffic accident that occurred and how he went out of his way, which was a very nice letter. And finally, this was from the state's attorney's office, Suzanne View. This was a recognition of Officer Ranzinski, who works in the Special Services Unit, commenting on him on an exceptional warrant that he submitted, his attention to detail, and she wanted to highlight what a great job and professional job he did on this case and the warrant that he prepared. So those are the three for this month.
Great. It's always nice to get these complimentary letters. It's also nice when somebody takes the time to write, because that just goes to show how much the officer went above and beyond many times. I know Officer Abruzzini, the school resource officer at Rowayton School, does a magnificent job. But it's nice when somebody takes the time to write. I received a letter about one of our DPW employees, and actually several of the employees. And the person wrote me such a long, heartfelt letter. It was just so nice to see. And like I said, when somebody takes the time to write a letter, it's always very special. So again, thank you to those who take the time. Any further comments, Chief or Commissioners or Deputy Chiefs?
None.
Seeing none, the next meeting will be February 22nd, 2021. Most likely, again, it will be a Zoom meeting until we can get out from under this scourge that we're experiencing. And it'll be starting at 4:15 or thereabouts after the Traffic Authority meeting. So I'll entertain a motion.
I so move adjournment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion adjourned, or meeting adjourned at 5:15. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Deputy Chiefs.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.